Youth group leaders. Until you learn to love the truth, you will always be delusional. Are you opening up the communication between God and young men and women, or are you closing it? Is the God whom you are teaching about unboxed, or is he in a box made by human beings? Keeping the communication restricted allows the disparity between the poor and the rich to keep growing rapidly and heightens the level of intensity of conflict triggers from young, middle-aged, and older people who have unrealized goals in their lives. It's humorous, in sort of a sad way, how prevalent entitlement disorder is. Both blacks and whites and members of all races bellow, "Unfair!" Ambiguous definitions by design in courts and in churches, policies and procedures that are unreasonable, obvious disparities in personality and status and bodily endowments take us back to Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 29 in the Bible, where all the people cried, "Unfair!" But God replied, "I am fair, you aren't." Machiavelli, in fact, encouraged leaders in this unfair world to be successful by tapping into the unfairness rather than by trying to overcome unfairness with fairness, justice, and truth. The U.S. system of justice is driven by the ideas of punishment and retribution. What do you teach these young people about the idea of justice on earth? Jesus was God, right? And what did God teach about retribution? There is scant alignment between his teachings and the American justice system. The most important question is this: is there any way to give people hope without lying to them? The answer might be no. However, since I am an idealist and not a Machiavellian, I will keep trying to find ways to do this. The second most important question is this. St. Matthew chapter 21 verse 31 implies that prostitutes and agents of the IRS will enter the kingdom of God before any religious, well-to-do American politicians. But will lesbians also enter the kingdom of God ahead of the politicians? Possibly the answer is yes. Okay, so what is the kingdom of God? St. Luke chapter 17 verse 20 was written nearly 500 years after the last page of Book 9 of Plato's Republic, in which the idea of the kingdom of God was first presented. And is not a man reproached for flattery and meanness who subordinates the spirited animal to the unruly monster, and for the sake of money, of which he can never have enough, habituates him in the days of his youth to be trampled in the mire, and from being a lion to become a monkey? Such appears to be the reason. And therefore we say that he ought to be the servant of the best, because everyone had better be ruled by divine wisdom dwelling within him, or if this be impossible, then by an external authority, in order that we may be all, as far as possible, friends and equals? True, he said. To this nobler purpose, the man of understanding will devote the energies of his life, and in the first place, he will honor studies which impress these qualities on his soul, and will disregard others? Clearly, he said. And in the acquisition of wealth, there is the principle of order and harmony, which he will also observe. He will not allow himself to be dazzled by the foolish applause of the world, and heap up riches to his own infinite harm? Certainly not, he said. He will look at the city which is within him, and take heed that no disorder occurs in it, such as might arise either from superfluity or from want, and upon this principle he will regulate his property and gain or spend according to his means? Very true. And for the same reason he will gladly accept and enjoy such honors as he deems likely to make him a better man, but those, whether private or public, which are likely to disorder his life, he will avoid. Then, if that is his motive, he will not be a statesman. By the dog of Egypt he will. In the city which is his own he certainly will, though in the land of his birth, perhaps not. I understand. You mean that he will be a ruler in the city which exists in idea only, for I do not believe that there is such a place anywhere on earth. In heaven there is laid up a pattern of it, I think, which he who desires may behold, and beholding may take up his abode there. But whether such a place exists, or ever will exist in fact, is no matter, for he will live after the manner of that city, having nothing to do with any other. Plato describes the kingdom of God as something that you look at. So does a person see it, enter it, look at it? It's hard to know which word would be best to use, but when someone finally understands what it is, any of the three expressions would work perfectly fine. Why would some lesbians, IRS agents, and prostitutes look at the kingdom of God before politicians do? Maybe some lesbians, IRS agents, and prostitutes are happy, but if there are some who are not, these might be interested in envisioning a different reality than their current ones, before any successful politicians would likewise be interested in envisioning a different reality than their current ones. The opportunity for hundreds and thousands of years of accidental and/or purposeful misuse of this idea and this phrase by churches, nations, and other profit takers is undeniable. 100% of us can understand the concept of the kingdom of God. 0% of us can know whether or not there is an actual physical pattern in an actual physical heaven that is the basis for it. And 0% of us can disprove that it's possible for this actual physical heaven to exist, which is why churches are able to use it as a fail-safe strategy. Youth group leaders, until you learn to love the truth, you will never be able to teach it. Reading and discussing Being Untwisted every 6 months will help you to love the truth and will efficiently help you to be a great teacher in the land of unrealized dreams, time pressures, and other limiting constraints. Being Untwisted by Marty is available for purchase today at Amazon.com.